Hey guys, and welcome back to another Conan Exiles video. Today we are in the southern desert, and I'm going to be building a large welcome centre designed for PvE or roleplay servers. This is a build I've been working on for quite a while and I've put tons of time into it, so it will of course be a speed build. So without further ado, let's get started. As with all my speed builds, I'll walk you through my ideas and concepts behind the build, along with my architectural choices and any difficulties that occurred, along with walking through the finished build when the construction phase is complete. Firstly though, this build does indeed have a blueprint, which you can see on screen now. It's a fairly large design, made mostly out of Aquilonian and Argosian, though I also included Frontier as a tertiary material, which is denoted on the blueprint by the brown squares. This design is really simple to construct, though the sheer size of the build would make it pretty troublesome if you're trying to gather the resources to build it without admin permissions. The inspiration behind this build was quite simple. You might remember a little while ago that I built a portal hub, a place designed as a transport hub for your Conan Exiles server that allows easy transportation to a variety of locations. You guys seem to really enjoy that video, and it got me thinking about some other builds that would also be useful for server builders out there. I've had a couple of ideas, some of which I won't divulge just yet as I do still plan on building them, but a welcome centre was near the top of that list of ideas. A welcome centre is a really great way to introduce your players to the server, to display server rules and culture in an interesting way that helps to invite people to stay longer. If you can manage to get that welcome centre to also serve as one of a few different player hubs across the map, especially as a place for people to just hang out and be social, it can be a great tool in helping with your player retention, especially with new players. However, nobody's going to want to rock up to a ramshackle box in the desert, but with something a bit more spectacular, it makes for a great player hub, so I decided to build just that, an attractive, spectacular welcome centre in the southern desert. My first real decision to make was what sort of design I wanted to go for. There were many options available, and honestly, lots of them would have worked really well. My initial thoughts were maybe a castle-style complex constructed from arena. However, I thought that design would give off the wrong atmosphere. It doesn't really seem too welcoming, and castle-like designs are quite easy to get lost in. I then debated on a long-haul style design made from frontier pieces. I think that design would have looked nice up north, but for the southern desert, again, it really gave off the wrong impression. Finally, I decided upon a large Aquilonian and Argosian structure with stormglass accents. Stormglass on its own is quite an intimidating material, but pairing it with Aquilonian and Argosian, it works really nicely in giving the build a bit more shape and edge without giving off that wrong impression. For the design, I chose a segmented style that I thought would work well in making the build much easier to understand. The centre of the build will be the main attraction, with a large tavern that players based around the southern part of the map would undoubtedly enjoy. Around that are a few different NPC stores, connected by narrow walkways. This design seemed like the best option, as it keeps everything feeling quite open and welcoming, and it prevents players from really getting lost inside the welcome centre. On the first floor, I'll also be including some other utilities, including 2 small teleport rooms for basic warps to different parts of the map and other utility buildings. When it came to decorating the build, this was the part of the design that proved the most troublesome. Now, I'm not sure if this is just me, but when I'm building a large structure like this, my head is full of ideas for different stores and utilities that would be really useful to have in a welcome centre. However, when I finally get to the furnishing phase, my mind's gone blank and I can only think of 1 or 2 stores at max. Now, I did finally manage to come up with some store ideas that should serve this build quite nicely, but this happens a lot to me on bigger builds and it's really annoying. On the ground floor, you'll have the mythic Tree Tavern, along with vendors for clothing, produce, fighting gear and potions. On the top floor, you'll have a general store and a magic store, along with a quartermaster who will serve a purpose somewhat similar to the Slayer Master from my Slayer guild build, and you'll also have a smaller teleport area for dangerous areas and server utilities. Outside of the purposeful utility decorations, I try to keep things as inviting as possible within the commonly used areas of the Welcome Centre. I focused on using a lot of wood and fabric items, rather than stone or metal. I also try to keep the areas lit nicely whilst not oversaturating the area with light. I hung aquilonian braziers from the ceilings and used lanterns on the tables to keep a delicate balance of warm light while still keeping things very atmospheric. I also made sure to add statues, planters and other decorations around the build to breathe a bit more life and culture into the design. So I think that's about all I have to say for the construction phase. As with all my speed builds, I'll be letting the rest of this phase run and then I'll be walking through the finished build, though if you'd like to just skip to the finished build, you can skip to the chapter on the play bar below. So with that being said, I hope you enjoy the rest of the build and I will see you in the furnishing phase. Finally, when the shell of the build was done, it was then time to, of course, furnish. Approaching the build, I've adjusted the roof a little to include risers, and I've decorated the large run up to the build. Entering the build, both sides have small lobby areas that lead to vendors, each with their own path towards the central section. On the right side, there is a potion store ran by an elven apothecary, and a blacksmith store, a simple workplace ran by a skilled blacksmith of many years' experience. On the left side of the build are two more stores. Firstly, a clothing store that stocks clothes and tailoring materials for all occasions. Just past that is a produce and food store that sells all sorts of food and ingredients for cooking, along with some ready-to-eat supplies. Entering the central room, we reach the Mythic Tree Tavern. This is designed as a nice, classy social hub for players based around the southern desert to enjoy. It should also help new players to become a bit more accustomed with server culture and learning how things work. The tavern is also attached to a rear-covered courtyard that looks over the desert and towards the volcano, providing a nice outdoor place to relax. Heading upstairs, we have a very basic portal directory for reaching different parts of the map. Ideally, these portals should link to portals in other safe locations within the areas they lead to for easier traversal of the map. Heading onto the right side of the top floor, we have a small seating area, along with another small portal directory for reaching important server utilities such as the PvP arena and the portal hub. At the front of the top floor are two smaller stores. The first holds Vakir the Quartermaster, who can serve as either a dialogue NPC, a vendor, or a quest giver, depending on which function you think would suit him best. Across the way is Malvar's Magics, a small magic store that will sell some basic magic items and the relevant resources. On the left side of the build, along with another small seating area, is a general goods store. Here you can buy a little bit of everything, along with selling goods you may not want anymore for a small profit. Finally, the back of the build is an open air courtyard, again looking northwards. And there we have it, a welcome centre for your Conan Exiles server. Thanks for watching. I've been working on this build off and on for a few weeks now, and I'm really happy with it, so I hope you guys enjoyed this too. As always, you'll find all the links to my Twitch, Discord, Twitter, Patreon and NordVPN discounts in the description below, along with credit for the music used in this video. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I put out at least 2 videos a week, so there's always plenty of content to come. If you have any suggestions for future builds, I would love to hear them in the comments below. As always, a massive thanks to our patrons Sadialot, Randar, Connor, Blue Ivy, Velma, Torn, Eagle Rose and Maril224. Again, thank you very much for watching, take care, and I'll see you soon.